Welcome back to FTP Speed Shop Podcast, a podcast where we talk about what you talk about in the garage because, hey, we're in the garage. I'm your host, Mike Early, and we're doing things a little different here today because we are having the guest's car in the garage. And tonight with me, we have Dvorak.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Of Barnyard Garage. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. This is fun. I like trying to... This will be better than trying to have you explain what your car is or what you do.
It's not a super... I mean, it's not unexplainable, but it's not super explainable either. It's an interesting build, I guess. So.
Yeah, and it saves me the time from having to Facebook stalk you and find pictures of it to cut in when we're editing. So
yep,
that helps with that. So what do we have in the garage today?
So it is a 1986 Monte Carlo, 8.8 rear, 5.3 engine. It's a little bit higher compression. It's like 12-1. It's on E85, TH400, higher stall. It's not like a ridiculous setup. It's on nitrous. I don't have the nitrous hooked up yet. I just got it running again this year, and I just haven't really taken it out. And yeah, I've been having fun just beating on it NA and having it sound good. So
yeah. Well, definitely heard you coming a couple blocks away.
Yeah.
I think that might be him.
It's a little loud. I had mufflers on it about a month ago because I got pulled over for no mufflers. So I welded mufflers on, got the ticket dropped, cut the mufflers back off.
So are you just got dumps going straight up, basically?
Yeah.
That's the exhaust?
They're turbo, like the forward-facing turbo headers. And then I just put a 90 off of both of them and then just put it at that. Just left it at that.
There you go. So do you go out and street race still or do any of that? Or you mostly track stuff now?
A little bit. I don't do a whole lot of track stuff with it either. I just kind of cruise around, do burnouts.
That's my kind of guy.
I did some burnouts for where was I at? I was over by the city mission the other day and everyone was cheering me on, so I did some burnouts over there. So I thought that was actually kind of fun.
The homeless guys telling you to do burnouts.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Well, that's all right. They gotta get excited for something. So that thing, to quote my oldest son when he was about 5, look at that sticking out engine. Did that used to have a big old turbo sticking out of the top of it?
Yes, it did.
Before everybody did that?
Yep, it did. It had a VS Racing, a GT45, and I had it pretty much just like hanging out of the fender, and then I did a stack up to the top.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Couldn't remember because I remember
there weren't a lot of hood turbos at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The only other one that I knew of running around at that point, that's before all of the big name channels started doing them. The only one I knew of that had one was the Rotson. When they had the Rotson, they had the turbo sticking out of the hood on that one. And I was doing my build around the same time as that, but it took me forever. So
yeah, you didn't have the crew or the funding.
Didn't really have the backing.
Yeah, for sure. I know how projects take a long time, way longer than you think they should. In fact, I don't really have any of my projects ever done. They just get close enough to running and have some fun with it and go.
I've gotten a few running, and then I drive them for like 2 or 3 years until I get something else done, and then I tear it back apart.
That's a good way to look at it.
So I always have like one project running at a time, but they're always just in a perpetual state of just
rebuilding and
being doused with money, but not really a lot of money. Yeah. But then they end up looking like this. So it's not like there's a lot of money into them, but there's more money into them than there should be for how terrible of cars they are.
Makes sense. I get it. Yeah. I jinxed myself this spring by saying I have every single car that I own runs. And within a matter of 2 weeks, I was literally down to, I think, my wife's car.
Perfect.
Yeah. Chevelle had an issue with oil pressure. The Prelude's ECU caught on fire. The Sub 100 had a really bad, what the hell was it? The radiator was leaking terribly. It was cracked. And then the rear end, one of the bearings was going out, wheel bearings. And it was like, and then my truck T-boned that Camry. So I was like, I am completely down. We're a one vehicle family now.
That's fun.
So that's why you never should ever say, got them all running. I jinxed myself. But they're all halfway back up and running. The Chevelle's not at the moment. I drained the oil out of it to see how bad the motor was.
How does it look?
I was expecting it to be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit of gold in there. Not too bad.
Okay.
Couple of flakes. It
Hopefully.
wasn't like the first time when the LS1
Yeah.
lost a rod. It looked like a gold pan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. If it loses a rod, it's bad news.
Mhm.
Bad news. Well, hopefully it's just like a bearing, like a quick bearing job, or hopefully it's maybe even like an oil pump or just something.
yeah, there's metal shavings coming from somewhere too, because the magnet had some shavings on it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's the oil pump had some scoring on it a little bit when I took it apart before. It's got a milling. I don't remember high. I think it's just a high flow.
Okay.
But I have a built motor for that, or at least a forged motor. That's what's under that bag. So that'll eventually go in it with the supercharger on it. And then the motor that's in that is going to go in the mail truck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I support that.
Yeah.
The mail truck's sweet. I watched a little bit on that. I was like,
Twin turbo,
that's awesome.
6 liter, hopefully. So
Yeah.
put it on air ride and have it sit rocker or body on the ground.
How do you think it's going to do at 100 miles an hour?
I don't know that I want to find out. It's going to be, I don't know. I haven't thought that far. I think it might be maybe like stoplight to stoplight, or, kind of maybe just more of a, who am I kidding? I'm going to floor it.
Yeah, you will.
Sure.
For sure.
So.
And it'll have the power to get there, but it's just going to be how it does there. It should be. Are you doing different suspension and everything?
Yeah, so right now looks like probably a Mustang 2 front end on it.
Okay. That shouldn't be bad.
And then some sort of 4-link, and it'll be on air ride. So that's the plan as of now.
Okay.
But that changes, from time to time. But
Yeah. That'll be good.
I think it should be interesting.
Yeah, it should be very interesting.
It's so ugly that it's cool, and it was free, so it's like the best price.
Yeah, that's good. Normally, my most expensive projects have all been the ones that I've gotten for free or under $500. Those end up adding up the most.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, I don't have anything into it. I can do this.
Do 500 here, 500 there.
Yeah, and then you like get a transmission for it. It's like, well, I've got this nice transmission. Like, it can hold the power. Why don't I put a little bit more power in front of it? And then
That's
it's
true.
Like, oh, well, I'll do this.
It's true. I'm trying to do it on a complete budget.
Yeah.
I got to figure out what I'm going to do for transmission.
Okay.
And all that stuff, but I'm probably leaning towards some sort of a TH, whether 350, 400, something like that. So
yeah,
it's not terribly heavy. So I don't know. 350 might hold up.
Yeah. I want to go to a manual in this. So if you want to buy the TH400 out of it,
okay,
just let me know.
Yeah, I definitely.
I've been telling a bunch of my friends, I'm like, if you need a good TH400, like trans brake everything, like, I don't
know if
manual.
I don't know that I want that thing to have a trans brake. It might roll over backwards and end up like a turtle on its back.
That's true. That's very true.
But that would be pretty cool, just to let that fucker sing and just dink.
Yeah. Because the engine in that, is it behind where you sit or is it in front?
It's in the front, and it basically...
Could you go back with it?
I did some rough mock-up with the LS block, and then I had just a long tail shaft TH350 and just kind of bolted it in and kind of set it in there. The drive shaft was looking like it was going to be about 17 inches long.
Okay.
Which I don't know. That's pretty short for, especially with air ride and trying to get travel.
That's about where mine's going to end up in my dually.
Okay.
And I don't know how it's going to do either. Because like the drive shaft is shorter than the 4-link bars are on air ride. And I'm like, it might be okay. If it's not okay, I just have to make sure that I'm only accelerating like at
perfect ride height.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just have to set a good ride height.
We were actually, me and Jackson, my son, were watching the video. I don't know. It was like 9 months old of the dually. What is the dually going to be? That kind of piqued at my...
So I almost want it to be like a supercar truck, as weird as that sounds.
Okay.
So I want it mid-engine, so I'm putting the engine behind the cab, doing the transmission back there. And then I want to do like an 8-to-1 header, and then bring the header all the way to the back of the flatbed. And then I'm going to put the flatbed back over it, have a cutout for the engine and transmission, and then put the wooden stake sides back on.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be interesting there. And I want it to be like a nice, like, I want to go through, do the valve train. The machine shop here in town, he just got done with my heads. He called me the other day. He got 85 thousandths off of some LS3 heads. So it should be a very rowdy sounding engine. I want like 8,000 RPM out of it, kind of thing.
Seems
just
pretty...
NA and just nothing crazy, but
Yeah.
interesting at least.
8,000 RPM seems like you're turning it pretty good.
Yeah, it should sound good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It won't be crazy, but it'll be different.
It definitely will be
fast.
It definitely will be different, and with mid-engine, I don't know. That's a pretty long truck though, so it's probably not.
Truck. And I stretched it another 3 feet.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was already like, it was a crew cab long box frame, and I put another 3 feet on it.
Okay.
So I will never make a U-turn ever.
It's gonna
anywhere.
be driving like a school
or park
bus.
it in a parking lot. Like I'm just gonna have to park it on the street everywhere.
I hate parking lots in my crew cab Duramax long bed. It's like driving a school bus in the parking lot. It's just go out to the end and pull in straight and pull out back, screw trying to get in and out.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, that'll be pretty cool. So you stretched it. I'm assuming you stretched it between the rear end and the cab, basically. Is that where you added the length?
Yes.
Okay.
I ended up just putting it all right at the end, but that's where the length is going to end up being. When I did the frame where it comes up and back, I just added more length onto the back there, so then I can move the axle back a couple feet, and then I can run a little bit longer of a 4-link is really what I'm doing.
Yeah, this will be my first time dealing with any suspension stuff, so it's a whole...
It's a mystery because everyone gives you different things. Yeah. You ask everywhere, and they're like, "You should do this. You should do this." I think they all work just fine. It's just fine tuning it at the end that matters.
It's whoever. I've only used this setup or this one. This is what I know works, and so that's the way you got to go. And there's about 1,000,001 YouTube videos out there that I've been randomly watching, trying to figure out.
And then you have to decipher through it because it's like. Then the guys that are really good at it, they're so busy doing it all the time that like they don't ever just go out and like make videos on it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So then you end up with the people who do it sometimes, and it's like, okay, like how much do you go off of this?
Well, it's like when you're on a forum or whatever, trying to figure out what's wrong with your car, or what you should do, or what parts work well together. And there's always the guys that say, "Oh, you're an idiot. That'll never work. You can't do that." And then there's a guy in the back that's like, "Oh, actually, I did that twice and it worked just fine." And then there's a bunch of people in the middle that are just fucking nut swingers, and they're just like latching onto the guy that has the most posts or whatever.
The highest post count. You follow him.
Yep, exactly. So it's like I always kind of go somewhere towards the middle bottom range and take that and just do a little research.
You creep on their other posts and see what they've done. And it's like, okay, well, this guy's got a car running, 7s in the quarter. Like, I'll probably believe him before the guy that has 12,000 posts and
still has his car on jack stands,
like a Geo or something.
A Geo would be pretty cool if it ran 12s. I mean, that'd be all right.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't even want to think about that. I don't need more projects.
Yeah.
Too many as is.
Your shop is full the way it is. So, what do you guys do primarily?
Pretty much getting to where I'm just doing tuning. Honestly, yeah. I'm in the middle of kind of transforming it because I was doing a lot of like cam swaps and DoD deletes and things along the lines of that. DoD deletes on off-road vehicles, I should say.
Yes.
And cam swaps on off-road vehicles.
I was just going to ask you a question about that.
Yes. We could kind of work into that a little bit later, but on all of those, and I really kind of want to pull back from that because there's a lot of guys that do that, and there's a lot of people that do that. And I've been just doing more tuning, and I want to get to the point where like I have pretty much an empty shop. All I'm doing is the cars that come in, they leave, and a lot of people have been very happy with that I've been prioritizing the tuning. And then I want to focus on one crazy build a year, something that's just something that's totally
customer
abhorrent.
Build or like your build?
Maybe. It depends.
It depends, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be one of those like mine, unless someone comes up and they're like, they have this crazy idea, they want something just absolutely bonkers that, like a SEMA build that isn't like scratched together, something that can actually go fast and look good.
Yeah.
A lot of it seems like a lot of things are either like really fast or just a show car. And I want to make something that's kind of an in between, but something that also makes people like stop in their tracks that, I've done a lot of builds like that, but they've always been kind of stuff like this.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, you go to you're walking through a car show, and I had my van with a huge spoiler on it. That was fun because I took that. They put me in VIP at Ice Cream Cruise. You know, it's like McLaren, Lamborghini, and then like an ambulance with the back of another van welded on and this huge spoiler. And it was funny watching all of these people. They're just walking past all of these supercars, just not even thinking about it. And then they get to this van and they're like, whoa.
Never seen it. You're like, what in the hell is that? Yeah. I definitely get that.
You know, they see the Duramax badges and start getting like really worked up about it. It's like, I like doing stuff like that, but I want to do stuff like that that's just like immaculate, if that's a good one. Like perfect, like all TIG welded everything.
Yeah.
You know, just
immaculate. That's a tough word
it is
to achieve. But I guess if you always shoot for that perfection, and then you end up down here, you're a lot better than you were.
Yeah.
If you just
that's my problem. That's why a lot of my own personal stuff like this, like it's all very mechanically sound, but I get like I want everything to be like such a high level of perfection that I'm just like, I know I can't achieve that on what I'm doing with my budget. So I'm like, well, since it's a budget issue, I'm just going to make it look terrible all the way around, and it'll just be a fun car. It'll be a good conversation
Well, I mean,
piece.
that's definitely the funnest cars, or where you can drive it in a parking lot or park it and not have to worry about it. And if, you know, God forbid, a shopping cart or somebody door dings you, it's not the end of the world.
Yep, exactly. So. Scratches, dents, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've probably done 90 on gravel on drag radials in this car, and it just like does fine.
Yeah, you just sandblasted the back of the quarter.
Yep.
Yeah, the Chevelle's getting to the point now, and I painted that in like early 2000s. That was the first car I painted, and it's to the point now where it's got some dents, it's got some scratches. The paint's not perfect by any means, so I'm not as... Still don't want to get a door ding by any means, but I'm not as anal about it.
You can take it on a road trip somewhere, and you don't have to worry about taping the grill. And,
I'm not, no.
You know, doing a bunch of stuff that's like, well, if I don't haul this somewhere in an enclosed trailer, it's going to be ruined. And it's just like, you can just go out and drive it, enjoy it. You can take it to Texas this weekend if you want to, and it's not going to hurt your feelings if you get a chip in it.
Exactly. Well, I can't take it to Texas this weekend.
Well, not with the oil pressure. You can borrow the 5.3 if you want to.
Yeah, just do a quick swap there. It won't be too bad. So But so want to do one crazy build in the shop, whether it's yours. And speaking of SEMA, it's SEMA season right now.
Yes.
So have you been to SEMA?
I have not. I've got a couple buddies who are out there this year.
I do too. We were supposed to go with Ben at No Coast Customs.
Oh, okay.
And then just financial reasons, medical issues or whatever, kind of, we're like, we're going to not spend the money this year for that. So, but I've been threatening to go for a couple years and just had never nutted up and done it. But it seems like a really good time.
Yep. No, it absolutely. From what I've seen, it looks really good. I've thought about going to PRI as well. I'd like to make it to that eventually, but a lot of that stuff, I just want to wait until I have something cool to take there.
Yeah.
Because I just, I go to car shows and stuff, but just walking around without participating isn't my favorite thing. I think that's why I don't watch sports either. Like, I love playing sports, but I don't watch sports. Because it's just kind of like, I don't like watching other people.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
enjoy
guess
something that like I could just do.
Yeah, I never really thought about it because I could pretty much care less about sports. But if, Jackson was wanting to play basketball in the driveway and I was just going to go out to talk to him and then ended up freaking playing basketball with him for 45 minutes. You know?
Exactly.
And so it's fun to do, but I could care less to watch it. I mean, I watch football to take a nap or get drunk. Those are the two reasons why I participate in football games.
Yep, exactly.
So it's not... Yeah, it's not for me, but I like getting out in the garage. I'm a tinkerer. I got to use my hands. Like, I have to be doing something, building something, putting something together, figuring out mechanics, and just trying to understand things better.
Yep.
So
I relate to that way too well. I used to get just like chewed out by my dad because pretty much anything they'd get me, I'd take it apart. I'm like 5 years old, take apart my Hot Wheels track motor and stuff like that because something went wrong. It's like, well, it was already broken. Like, I can't make it any worse.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I don't even know why, but I got two little robots, like remote control robots. They're the exact same.
Yeah.
Must have got one for my parents and maybe one for my grandma or something. So I was like, well, I got two. Took one of them apart and couldn't figure out how to put it back together. I still had one working one, but yeah, I was like, you got to quit taking this shit apart. And I was like, I want to see how it works. What is going on in there? How does that work? It's magic. I want to figure it out.
And I think that's kind of transferred into our adulthood, because then we take something apart. It's like, oh, that's really cool, but like putting it back together isn't really an interest, because it's like, okay, well, I know how it works. I think just knowing how something works is more interesting than like the final product.
That's probably why none of our projects are ever 100% complete.
Yes, like sometimes I'll get into like old motors. Like I've got like a 28 Willys Knight, and it's got a sleeve valve motor, and I'm like, that's the coolest thing. Like I didn't know sleeve valve motors even existed until I got that.
I don't even know what it is.
It's the cylinder walls have like their own crankshaft, so it's almost like a two-stroke, but like the cylinder sleeve moves up and down and lets air into the piston instead of coming through a valve.
Okay,
it's the craziest thing
my mind just is blowing. Like,
yeah, it's if you get a chance, just Google it. Look up like an old Willys sleeve valve motor. I'm like, that is sweet. Makes like 13 horsepower.
So it's super efficient.
It's just awful.
Yeah.
But like I got that and like kind of took the car apart and tinkered and looked at everything, and I need to put it back together now, but I'm just kind of like, oh well, like know how it works.
Kind of want to go on to the next thing.
Yeah. So then I just kind of like move on to the next thing. And so,
yeah, I definitely know that like once it's almost done. Yeah. Nothing's ever finished. It's time. All right, it's time to enjoy it. And it's like, all right, now what are we gonna do? We got to get to the next thing on the list.
It's either that or we're justifying like some form of ADD. It could be. I think everybody.
I definitely like it took me like 3 days to clean the podcast table off for this, because it's like I would be picking something up off of it, and then I would end up going over there and like organizing the toolbox, or like start working on whatever was there, and it was like.
Yep.
This is never going to get done.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I find a checklist helps a lot. If I have a list, I can go up to the list, because sometimes I can't think of what's the next step to do. But if there's a list, like, okay, we got to run brake lines, or I got to do this and this. And it's like, all right, let's just start that tonight and go on, and then next thing you know, you're 4 things down the list.
Yep.
So I get a lot more done when I make a list, especially in the garage, because it is kind of sensory overload a little bit.
It's big.
You're like, oh yeah, I should get the Hobbit running. Oh crap, that's leaking. Or I should do that. Or maybe I should sweep for once.
And then you get nothing done.
Yeah,
because you're like, well, I'll sweep once I move that.
And then
but you're like, before I move that, like I don't want to push it outside without doing brake lines. But I need to get brake lines. But I'm gonna go to the store later.
Yeah.
So like I'll get those when I go to the store.
Mm-hmm.
And then like
just going in a circle the whole time.
And then it's like, oh, someone else went to the store, and like. It's like, oh, okay, well, never mind. I guess I'll figure it out later. That's way too much.
Definitely a lot of
checklists do help.
Spinning the wheels for sure. So we had kind of vaguely touched. Well, let's do this. I'll go with this. So when this motor gets done, it'll be forged rotating assembly 6-liter with LSA heads and an LSA blower.
Okay.
BTR stage 3 blower cam.
Okay.
Stock injectors, should probably just run it on pump gas, but I will need to get that tuned at some point.
Okay.
So, or how far are you out? Are you like booked out months and years?
So like last summer I was 3 months out. Like people were hitting me up in May because they got their projects done, and they're like, hey, can you get me in? And I'm like, well, I can in August. And and that's how everyone is. Like, literally everyone's like that. Any tuning shop is like that. So I'm like, okay, so there's obviously an issue with that, because everyone's like that. There's no reason that everyone should be like that. I'm like, what can I do to change that? So I just started prioritizing tuning. Over the winter in Nebraska, you slow down because you get like 3 weeks of snow, and like no one's going to bring their Corvette when it's snowing.
Exactly.
So I'm like, okay, once I get like a good like 3-4 weeks slow down, I'll do some pickups. I've got projects in the shop to do and all that, but I'm like, when tuning season ramps back up, I'm going to drop anything that I'm doing and tune. So now it's one of those things where someone calls me up. They're like, hey, I have this car. I just got this done. When can you get me in? I'm like, bring it tonight. So I have been doing that all year, and it's the best thing I ever did with the business ever.
Really? Yeah.
Because I'm still doing like 2-3 cars a day. And, sometimes I have to tell people like, oh, bring it next week because I've got too many cars at the shop or too many things happening.
Mhm.
But it's one of those, like, if I'm midway through an engine job, I literally just like stop the engine job and I'll tune 2 cars and then they're just out, because I'm like as a tuner, I'm like the last rung of getting something done.
Yeah.
So, everyone's always, they're over budget, they're over time, like they've got all this money, they've got all this time into it, and they're like, finally it starts, and they're like, sweet, I can get it to the tuner.
Yeah, I wanna
in,
drive it.
in 3 months.
Yeah.
Great. So it's
yeah,
like,
that's the heartbreaker right there.
yeah.
It's like finally,
Yeah.
yes.
So I and it used to be, the reason why it would always throw me off so much is because I'd be a couple months out and the car would show up, wouldn't have enough injector, or it would have, like a bad fuel pump. And fuel issues are the bane of my existence. It's constant. It's always fuel issues. Always not enough pump or not enough injector. That's just 24/7. That's just how it is. Or like something will come in and it like has the wrong length push rods and you can hear the valve train like crazy. It's like, hey, you should fix this before we spin it up on the dyno. A lot of little stuff like that. But now, it used to be where like someone came in with that and I'm like, hey, I'll order you injectors. I'll put the injectors in. Then the car would sit there for a week and a half while injectors showed up and stuff like that. Now it's like someone comes in that runs out of injector on the dyno. I'm like, here, take it, put new injectors in, call me when it's done, bring it back over,
on.
and I'll finish it up. And I just charge like by the hour when it comes back. And I've been doing that, and it seems like everyone's super happy because now I can get their stuff in within a couple days.
Yeah, and that makes sense too because I'm weird. I don't want to leave my car anywhere, and so like leaving my car in a shop, even though it's secure or whatever, it's leaving it in there, and so like I get that.
Yeah.
And then just you're always making sure people are ready to go on the dyno beforehand.
Well, and I got to the point where I was so far out that I had to do all of these checklists and all of this stuff where it's like, hey, I still have the checklist, but I just kind of like have it on the website, like, click this, check over everything. You'd be amazed how many people are just like, well, I only need 3 lug nuts to make 700 horsepower on each wheel on the back. And I'm like, I mean, like, I'm sure you did 100 miles an hour on it, but I mean, like,
what if I'm missing 1 lug nut on a front wheel?
That's fine. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's fine. It wouldn't be the first or last, I'm sure, that I'm going to see.
I let my brother borrow it so he could go copy it or whatever. He wanted to get I don't remember what the hell he was putting on some rims for whatever, and he needed to know what the lug nut was that worked on those. So I took one off, gave it to him. He'll still say that he gave it back, but I still don't have it.
Are they, what stock? I might have some.
They're the drag lights, Weld drag lights.
Okay. I might have lug nuts. I have some that used to be on this for like Krager's.
Yeah.
But the Weld drag lights are probably
They
thinner.
got the little shaft that goes down in the middle and a washer and whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of lug nuts, there's a mismatched one on that wheel that I put on there on the way to the Hoopty Challenge. And this just shows how small of a world everything is. Had it on the trailer going down there with my buddy. And then we both, I took my mom and he took his mother-in-law, on the trip. And it was a fun trip going down there. But I stopped at an AutoZone in Albuquerque because it was the closest one off of the interstate.
Yeah.
And they had one of those lug nuts there. So I'm like, cool. Stop in there, and I've got a 2004 GTO. I'm on the GTO pages all the time. I troll a lot on the internet, so I'm always like, imagine that. Smack talking on the internet, on the GTO pages. Sometimes when you're on those enough, you meet other people that talk a lot of crap on the internet, and you kind of like get to know them through the internet. And I walk into this AutoZone and there's a really clean GTO outside, and I was talking to my buddy and he also has a GTO. I'm like, we should go talk to that guy and just ask him about it because it's a beautiful car.
Yeah.
And we start talking, and he's like, oh, my name's Connor. And I'm like, Connor what? And he tells me his last name, and I'm like, oh, I'm Brock Coles from Facebook. And he's like, no way. Like, we just ran into each other at an AutoZone in Albuquerque.
Yeah, that was always too, like in the SCR days back then. It was like
SCR.
It was what's your screen name? I don't know anything about you. What do you drive, or what's your screen name?
I'm glad that SCR has like been deleted. Like, I'm
Has
sad
it officially been deleted?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like a couple of years ago. Part of me is really sad because I'd like to look back and see some of the old posts and see
Yeah,
kind of how
exactly.
everything like progressed. But at the same time, I'm like, if I ever want to get into politics, I'm really glad that's gone.
Oh, it's on a server somewhere.
Probably.
It's definitely hidden somewhere for sure. Just so they can bring that back. I couldn't run for politics just because of SCR.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of shit talking in the early 2000s on that page.
Me and my buddy were talking about it the other day because he was on SCR. We were talking about how soft the internet's become and like how you can't say stuff that you used to be able to say, and how a lot of younger people are kind of missing out on a lot of that stuff.
Oh, it was so fun.
It was so fun.
It was so fun.
And the funny thing is like, you know, there were all sorts of things that you'd like say to people and like they never did anything. But now you can't say anything like that. And then like everyone is like still having all sorts of issues in life. And it's like, well, everything was a lot better with tough love.
Yeah, exactly. Or, you know, we'd talk shit on the internet and then be at Sam's Club or whatever that night. And it's like, you little fucker, come here. Or let's go. Let's get this. You know, it wasn't like nobody was like drawing a gun or trying to fight anybody.
No.
There was a few times probably where maybe some fists might have flying, but for the most part, it was just fun talking shit.
Yeah.
Just fun.
And everyone ended up kind of coming together in the end. Like a lot of my really good friends now, we hated each other on SCR. Like literally, like we'd run into each other and we would like just stank eye, just like right at each other, just mad the whole time. And now it's a couple years later, like they're my drinking buddies. And it's just like, it's weird how that all works out. But I think a lot of it came from we were so similar that we butted heads because we were so similar.
But you also have so much in common that it's easy to find a middle ground. And so, yeah. God, I miss SCR. That was fun. I just wasted too many hours on there talking shit.
But we learned so much.
Yeah.
You know, like it would go from one thread where, you know, someone would be talking about like a hookup they had that weekend and posting pictures like Jim. And then you'd go to another thread.
Dang, I forgot about those threads.
Oh,
the not work safe thread. And
And so you'd go from like that to, you know, someone like Stein doing this like beautiful like 5-0 swap in a Miata, and it's just like, wow, this is really nice, and like you learn so much from it. I learned a lot of what I know from just reading on that forum.
Yeah, the build threads were pretty cool.
Yeah,
I tried to do one, but then ended up just losing focus and got about like 2 pages in and called it a day.
Yeah,
but oh god, SCR.
All of those forums were good. I think I joined my first forum in like 5th grade, and it was a worldwide forum. You know, like just everyone from everywhere. It was called fastcars.com or like fastautos.com. So it was this huge website. It was just like a collection of car pictures and stats on supercars. So, you know, being in like 4th, 5th grade, like that's awesome. I didn't have internet at home because we lived in the middle of nowhere. You know, I went to a school with like 3 people in my class.
Oh,
that's how middle of nowhere I grew up.
Okay, that's pretty far out there.
Yeah, it's very far out there. So I would go to the library and go on forums, and you know, like I'm like a 5th grader on this worldwide forum, and I would just get torn apart because my grammar sucks, the way I talk sucks. Like I can't formulate a lot of things because I'm in 5th grade. And then that kind of like, I think that helped build me more than anything because I got really good at writing and really good at punctuation because I didn't care about that in school. But once I got bullied for it left and right, I'm like, oh, maybe I should actually fix this.
Put a little effort into that.
Yeah, and then it like everything smoothed out from there, and then it's like, okay, well now I'm kind of like a somewhat respected member of this community, and then we'd kind of get together and we'd go spam other forums.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what word I can use here, but like I don't know. As far as YouTube censorship, but if it's I don't really give a shit about that, I guess. But if it's something that's like totally like someone's dropping N-bombs or something, I'll go ahead and not put that in. No, so we would spam all these forums. We'd get together on like MSN Messenger. And we'd have a group chat on there, and we'd all make 10 profiles on a forum. each, and we'd hit our daily limit. We do this in the middle of the night and just post ridiculous stuff.
We did smiley bombs or whatever, where you just crash the site because you would just copy and paste thousands of smileys, and we brought SCR down a handful of times
we
doing that.
did something exactly like that, but we took down Ferrari chat with pictures of horse sticks. They were so mad. They banned us from the first forum that we were all on.
Yeah.
And I was in 7th grade at this time. I thought it was hilarious. And now I'm getting information from Ferrari chat because I like stuff like that. But I just think it's funny it comes full circle. But they were so mad about that because it took them, they only had one admin or moderator at the time. It took them 2 days to clean it all up.
Yeah,
so it was just forum after forum.
A couple of guys can do a lot of damage in a few hours for sure.
And they got us. I think they paid someone to ban us from our home forum. So then we made our own forum, and then that forum just disappeared because no one else was on it. Because everyone's like, "Why'd they ban them? They were the fun ones here."
Yeah.
Everyone just left.
What year would that have been roughly? Time frame wise?
Oh man. That probably would have been 06.
Okay.
07.
Yeah, so that was kind of when I was getting out of SCR and the car, still into cars and stuff, but bought a house, had a wife, had kids. So kind of teared off of that and didn't really get on SCR or do any of that stuff.
I was pretty young still. Maybe it might have been 05 even.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was probably around there. I mean, it was in those, I was still really young. I don't know. I can't help that, but it's just
you can't help that. You're right.
But I kind of got to I just got to see the end of it where it was the wild west of the internet, but then the censorship started coming around. So I knew how to get around the algorithms because I just researched it. But
yeah, that's true. The algorithm has changed a ton.
I very rarely get banned, but I talk still a lot of stuff on Facebook, and I've had issues with that in the past where even my most recent girlfriend, we're still together, but her friends were they saw my Facebook and they're like, this is ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Don't date him. Do not date him.
Good.
This is terrible. And I'm like, you should have seen how it was 10 years ago because this is just the most mild thing in the world now.
Yeah, it's very, very cleaned up, very proper now.
Yeah. I almost look professional in my mind.
Yeah, I didn't really. I was joking around with a buddy, and I don't know if I should say this on the internet because it's done and gone now, but I was joking around with a buddy on Facebook, and I didn't really understand Facebook that well or how it all works. So I thought I was just commenting on his thing, and it was one of the Women's March things or whatever. He's like, I didn't realize he didn't know he commented it on the Women's March page because he was responding to somebody else. And he said, when's there going to be a man's march? This is bullshit. Yep. And I responded to him thinking it was on his page. And I was like, they're just a bunch of stuffy cunts.
It was on the comment of their actual march, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was like, they're just being a bunch of stuffy cunts and don't want us to have a man's day or whatever. And wow, you'd not believe the amount of messages I got saying, oh, they just instantly searched me, went to my page or whatever. I wonder if his wife knows he calls women cunt on the internet, or oh, it looks like he's a business owner. Do you think his customers would like to know about? And I was like, fuck, how am I going to get out of this one? Luckily, I just let it all calm down.
Out and it just goes away.
Don't apologize. Don't back down from it, and maybe don't double down, but just let it simmer out a little bit.
I don't have any of my business stuff on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of a joke. I was making fun of the local police department a while back because they'd kick us out of parking lots all the time. Mm-hmm. But I've always had my profession on Facebook for the last couple of years as parking lot enforcement.
Oh, okay.
And you'd be amazed how many people would message me and they're like, of course you're all mad about this because you work some loser job being a parking lot security guard. I'm like, I do. I hope you don't call my employer. I'll probably get fired. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good idea. And I probably should, but I don't know. I haven't added anything to my construction Facebook page in years. I don't even my website I haven't updated.
Yeah.
I don't think for 2 years. So it doesn't really give me anything or benefit me that much having it, but it's just something you're supposed to have as a I guess a business owner.
Just as a formality.
Yeah.
I don't put too much on it anymore either.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, and would some of that be dealing with Does the EPA creep? I'm assuming social
I don't
media is
know, they
probably
probably
where
do.
they find a lot of these companies.
Yeah, I think there's some stuff coming down the line from what I've heard. I think from what I have heard, as far as car tuning goes,
Mm-hmm.
if the cars you're tuning, like X amount of percentages of them meet the EPA requirements and they pass emissions, then they're gonna kind of not be super into it, I hope.
And
And with gas stuff, like it's not like the diesel stuff. I don't tune diesel stuff for that reason.
Just to
because I
roll
like
coal.
tuning diesels, but
Yeah.
just like I did my own. But if I get into it again, I'm not gonna do any deletes. And honestly, like I know this sounds very like me, but like on anything like 2013 and up, like there's no benefit to taking the cats off or like deleting the emission stuff. Like most of them don't gain any power until like you can take like a newer Camaro
mm-hmm.
and put like a blower on it and make like 800 horsepower through stock cats, and like you're fine. You don't gain anything. Like I've done some like back-to-back testing
Yeah.
just on the dyno, and you know, even like those high flow cats that
Mhm.
like the what brand? They're like the Green Cat or something like that. I think like MagnaFlow sells them or something. And we did a back-to-back on the car made right at 500 at the tire on a blower setup, and we went from those to none, and it was within 1 horsepower. So it's like it's not beneficial anymore. It's not like on like a 2000 Camaro
Yeah.
where you take like the manifolds off and stick long tubes on and pick up 30 wheel horsepower. Now it's like you take the manifolds off, like even like the new Hemis, like you can take manifolds and cats off of like a nice like newer 6.4 and put long tubes on, and you'll
Mhm.
gain like 3 horsepower.
It's not.
And it's like-
it's not worth the energy and the money to do all that.
Yes,
probably.
it's not. And then it just stinks. Like
Yeah.
then the car smells up the garage and it smells like gas, and everyone complains because it reeks like gas, and it's just like you're better off just not. You're way better off just leaving it.
Well, and if you guys are putting good tunes on the car, technically they probably should pass this. They
yeah.
should pass the sniff test anyway, because it's
Yes.
not like you're wanting them to run fat anyway. You're
Yep.
trying to get as most efficient as
No,
possible. Basically,
like you want them as efficient as you can get.
Yeah.
Because that's where you make the most power as well. So it's just kind of like, and I mean, they like cats don't do anything at wide open throttle anyway. They're designed not to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they like the amount that a cat does at wide open throttle, like on a factory vehicle, is pretty much none.
Probably because it's so much flow moving
so
across
much air
it.
moving through there. It
Yeah.
can't get the airflow hot enough going through it to actually do
Gotcha.
anything. So they'll like they add a little bit of fuel in up top from the factory. Like it'll go a little bit rich up top
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of like keep the cats cooled down, but it doesn't actually affect the performance at all. It
And
doesn't make any horsepower.
And I
difference.
think
like maybe 5 horsepower.
With all the ECUs and the tuning and all the programs and stuff out there, gone are the days of fat and happy, you
Yeah.
know, and like
Yeah.
play it on the safe side and
Yeah.
run it a little fat.
I still do a little bit, but not crazy.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, you know, they're like, oh, well, it didn't make as much power as you thought it was going to make. You got to go to like a 12.7 AFR. You go from like a 12.0 to like a 12.7. It's like 2 horsepower. It's like,
Yeah.
It's not, you know, like a direct injection motor. That's a little bit different. They're a whole different animal. But
Yeah.
I've been getting into stuff where like I've been finding out like through tuning, I've learned so much stuff. It's like I found out that EcoBoosts are sensitive to oil. Like if you don't get like a direct injection or direct injected type of oil,
Mm-hmm.
they will pre-detonate at low speeds. Like they'll be like negative timing because they've got such a fine fuel mist that it'll mix with the oil on the cylinder walls at like 1500 RPM
Okay.
and detonate on the cylinder wall while the piston's on its way up.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, that's once I started like reading things and finding things like that out, like it kind of changed everything.
So
with
what's
that.
different with the oils, or is it?
As far as I know, they just changed it must be on like a molecular thing.
Mhm.
Like I think I read this like 2 years ago, so don't
Don't
quote
quote
me.
me,
Internet.
you know,
Someone
we're-
in the
we're
comments,
quoting you
someone
on
on
it.
the comments is like getting the guillotine out right now. They're like,
they're
this guy.
Yes, this idiot doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, but I think it just kind of like holds on to the cylinder wall a little bit better. And I
Okay.
think that there's some certain chemical in like the older, cheaper oil
Mm-hmm.
that like is more easily ignitable.
With that direct injection too, are you more worried about washing the cylinder walls down?
No.
You're not?
No, not at all.
Okay.
They seem like they do just fine.
Okay.
It's more of I've seen more issues with people like blasting through pistons because they have enough pressure to like sandblast a hole in the piston.
Really?
Almost. Not really on gas stuff. Diesel's really bad about that. But like gas stuff, I have seen a couple of gas motors. Like even like factory stuff, like factory Ecotechs. I've seen holes in pistons on Ecotechs where they just kind of like slowly went through.
The Duramax is running like 26,000 psi or whatever. Fuel pressure.
High
is
pressure.
the gas?
Gas on average is like in the 2000s.
Oh,
like
so
you
it's
might see like 3,000.
So it's completely different.
Yes.
Like as far as
they're still pretty high up there, but they're not as bad.
So does that have like an ejection pump like a diesel then, like down in there that builds like doubles the pressure?
They're cam driven, so they've got their factory lift pump feeding into it, and then they've got the high pressure one running off the cam. And a lot of the newer ones, like if you do a bigger camshaft, you can do a bigger lobe on the camshaft, and then you get more lift. But then you have to make sure everything's good as far as that goes. But you can get a little more fuel doing that. But the injectors are a lot more expensive. But man, like they do good. Like the newer LT motors are like good.
Yeah, and I think the aftermarket's starting to come along to them also.
Yes.
Because I know talking to Ben at No Coast, they had a hell of an issue because they got an LT or LT4 or something like pretty early on, you know. And there wasn't a ton of aftermarket, so they're having some issues getting things to fit in line and then tune, or wiring harnesses and stuff like that, and having to try to make stuff work.
It's coming around now. It's getting there.
I just hope the EPA doesn't just fuck everybody over.
Yeah.
Like on all this stuff.
Like just pretty much take it away.
Yeah.
Which I know they're like, I don't even think they can. Who was it? Someone was telling me that like, as far as like carburetors go, like Holley isn't selling them. They're not selling them to like middlemen anymore. Like they're not having like retailers of carburetors anymore because they don't want anyone selling stuff to people in California. Like stuff along the lines of that. Yeah. Because I heard stuff like that's coming down the pipeline, which is frustrating because it's, you know, California. And it's just like, okay, well, if you're putting this old carb on an old car, who cares? Like it's before emissions anyway. It's probably going to run better than whatever is on this 1960. Exactly. Like we have a stock 1965 Chevelle. It's probably going to run better with a modern day carburetor and use less fuel than a 1965. Yeah,
all the metering circuits and everything's just going to be so much more precise and finite compared to old casting and machine work and all that stuff.
I think they just want to take away everything that's fun.
I'm not going to argue with you. I feel like the older I get, the more of like the crotchety old man I become, that I always wondered how people get like that. We're like, oh, fucking government, oh, taxes, oh, the EPA, or I mean, I tried to order a damn fuel pressure regulator. I think I ordered it from Speedway, and it was drop shipped and from AEM, and I had to fill out a damn piece of paper stating, you know, my name, the VIN, an affidavit, I guess, or whatever, and the VIN and all that stuff. Well, I just filled out 1985 CRX, don't have the VIN, it's a drag car. You know, it'll never be on the street. There's no license plate number. You need to have all this stuff on there. And I sent it back in, and they go, yeah, we're not going to be able to ship this to you. I was like, cancel my order and I'll go buy one off eBay. Yeah. And that's what I ended up doing. Just crazy.
It's nuts.
And like HB Tuners is doing, you have to take a course now.
Yes.
And is that their,
which I have not done because I don't want that
information out there.
Me. You know what I mean? Like
they're making a database basically. Yeah.
Like it's kind of to that point where it's going to be like, if you want to do this stuff to your car, like you're just going to have to live with a check engine light. Like, oh no, a check engine light. Like just take the bulb out or something. Like it doesn't affect anything else. Like none of that stuff. You know what I mean? There's just like, you're just going to have to live with it. If you want a drag car, an off-road drag car that you want to take that stuff off of, which you don't really need, you don't need to until you're making like 1,200 or 1,000 horse. But you know what I mean? Like there's just no reason. Turbo cars are a little more sensitive to it, but even then, like they do okay.
Is that a back pressure issue type deal with the exhaust and the exhaust not flowing?
I think another issue is people put them too close Because turbos make such high heat that I think they can't get enough efficiency down low that the cat is efficient enough, because it needs to be so close. But then EGTs are so high that they end up cooking the cats out at wide open because they're making so much power.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know. That's where it kind of becomes the wishy-washy area of everything that I wish just didn't really have to be an issue. But I think that they're making such big bounds in stuff that I think in 5 years it's not going to be an issue anymore.
As far as they're pushing so far, and
I think technology is finally going to catch up to where the EPA is just going to kind of be like, okay, well, this isn't. But then again, the EPA just wants to shove everything down.
Dude, it's like building codes and stuff like that. Like they got to justify their job, so they're change the codes every 4 years or whatever, and they just keep they move with technology, so they keep changing things, and it's just like, where do you draw the line? Like hell, my cars, I don't even hardly drive them that often, so I'm not contributing at all. Yeah. And with an LS and the Chevelle, it's way more environmentally friendly than a big block would be.
1,000 times better. And there's 20 people in Priuses making up for you, compared to 10 years ago when everyone's driving around in not 10 years, probably 30 years ago, but everyone's got a Ford LTD. Yeah. It's everyone's in a Ford LTD.
Mm-hmm. Big ass Caprice Classic, and no cats, no nothing.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. But stuff is progressing. I mean, you look at the horsepower difference. I mean, you can go out and buy a factory Kia that will just whomp a 70 Chevelle SS.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And
the horsepower wars are right now. They're not the horsepower wars of the 60s and 70s or, early 70s.
And the factory emissions on those last 100,000 miles. So it's I don't know, you can go out and buy a new Hellcat and make 900 tire on stock cats and
yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's getting there. It'll be there. Will the aftermarket keep up? I don't know. Might be there, but
is it going to be one of those things where you're just getting factory packages now?
Yes.
So you're adding, GM's taking the or Dodge or whoever, they're taking okay, this is what we have to have. If you want to buy the 1,200 horsepower package, you got to have these headers or whatever, and then they become compliant that way.
Yes.
Just
which is going to suck
out
for all of the aftermarket. It's really going to kill the aftermarket industry. But I don't know. I always keep an eye on everything else because there's always a million other routes. It's there were probably a lot of people who shoed horses in the early 1900s that when everything kind of went to cars, they probably weren't government, blah, 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 pushing cars is just okay, I guess we'll go work on cars or we'll go shoe horses in another state until we can retire.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Move up to Montana and shoe horses a little bit longer. I don't know.
Everything's constantly changing. We're constantly evolving, whether we want to or not. And so.
And that's kind of how I've seen my business from the beginning, because I think too many people get too deep into associating their entire lives with it. And if something goes bad, the world just crushes down.
Yeah.
And it's just from the beginning, I was this is going to be a learning experience. And if I fail, I fail. And I did more than 99% of people ever would go out and just trying it. So it's I just try it. And it's I have gotten way farther past my business than my goals ever were. Mm-hmm. So it's okay.
Every time you get uncomfortable, you grow and you learn, and then or make mistakes, and you go, well, won't do that again.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when they hurt your wallet, you're okay, definitely not going to make that one again.
Yeah. There's been plenty of those.
Oh yeah, I know that all too well. So I love working for free. That's why I go to work every day.
You get to pay to go to do something you love. It's
something like that. Yeah. Some days I wonder why I'm still in construction, but it's all right. Yeah. So, what's this van life about? You got this Escalade. You're trying to build a house out of. You still got that going on?
A little bit. I finally got it registered.
Okay, that's a major step in the right direction.
I got it a year ago.
Yeah.
I was I need to register this. And then this last year has been just my dog got into rat poison at the beginning of last year.
Oh, that's...
And it was a $1,600 bill. And that was the least of my problems this year. It's just been one thing after the next. So it's well, whatever. But yeah, I've been doing a little bit with it. Been taking it around a little bit, but honestly, I take the Audi more places because the mattress fits in that, and it gets like 3 times the gas mileage because gas prices are not great yet.
Definitely have gone the wrong direction the last couple of years.
And then the
sure.
lifters failed in that Escalade, like, right after I got done doing some of the build out in it, the lifters failed. And he did lifters before I bought it. GM lifters. And I know he did because he was a very straight shooter. He showed me the receipts. You know, like and he did. When I took them out, they were new GM lifters. They failed after like a month and a half.
That's the other thing too. Like LS7 lifters were always the one to get the LS7 lifter, and I've heard they're just complete shit now.
Everything's junk. The parts quality of everything. That's the reason I haven't been doing a lot of cam swaps, because like I do like 5 cam swaps and I'd have like 2 lifter failures, and it's just like, how do I make a living doing this when I have to redo everything?
Yeah.
Or, you know, like you put a converter in, and like a torque converter, and like torque converter fails, or you do this and this fails. It's just like, this sucks. Like everything, when COVID started, it's just like everything went downhill.
Oh yeah,
it's like
sure.
People can barely like show up for work and like make a hamburger. Like I can't imagine like when people have to deal with tolerances.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, because like no one is working anywhere that's been working there for a long time. Everyone has switched and changed jobs. So now instead of having some old guy named Bill that's been making these LS7 lifters since 1993, they've got some kid who kind of came in there from like engineering school that can't get another job, and he's just like doing that
trying to find something
until he gets the job that he really wants. So it's just like, you know, like I've had a couple of lifters show up that don't even fit in the lifter bores.
Really?
Like literally don't fit in the lifter bore. And I'm like, well, maybe there's something wrong with this engine. And I've got 20 LS engines laying around the shop. I'm like, wow, this lifter doesn't fit into any of these. So then I call the manufacturer, and they're like, well, that's not our problem. There's no warranty on those. I'm like, it doesn't even fit in the hole. Like, how's this going to handle 7,500 RPM?
Yeah, that doesn't.
That's wild to me. Like, if the tolerances of the outside suck that bad, like, what's the inside going to be like?
There's nothing on the inside.
I'm like, no wonder these things aren't going right. Like, this is nuts.
So is there
total clown shoes?
I was talking to Wishman, and he said, I think it was a Cadillac, racing Cadillac, whatever lifter. That one
those do good. I've ran like 2 or 3 sets of those, but
they're 3 times the price.
Yes, but whatever. But who knows where those are being manufactured at now too?
Yeah.
You know, they were probably being manufactured at least in Canada for a while, but they're probably being manufactured somewhere that I can't pronounce the name of.
Yes, where they're used to making.
I saw Comp came out with a new lifter. They've got like the hydraulic part in the middle is its own little like not apparatus, but its own little thing. Like it's removable. It's a cartridge. It's like the hydraulic part of the lifter is a cartridge. I'm excited for those, but they're like $650 or $700 a set, which if I don't have to take an engine apart twice, I will happily pay that.
Yeah, and so you just basically, you can just pop it out, replace it if the body or the shafts and the roller is still good. You can just replace the
which it seems like most of the time. I've had a lot of roller failures too, but you can't. I spent I'd say probably 2 or 3 months, like an hour or 2 a day, just like researching lifters, and I couldn't find any that were fully American manufactured. I found one place down in like Florida that does American assembled, but they're still using like Chinese SKF bearings and stuff like that. Like they're still using Chinese bearings and everything.
Yeah, that's the tools will say that. It'll be like proudly assembled in America.
Yeah.
You know, they got the flag on it. You're like, it's made in America. No, it's just put together in America.
It's like a hammer that's like made in America. It's like, well, the wood comes from Guam and the top of the hammer comes from somewhere in Asia.
Yeah.
And then it ships here together, and then they go
exactly.
It's like, it's American made.
Yeah, it's made in America.
That's how all of them are. The only fully American made lifters I could find are like short travel or solid ones, like solid roller lifters. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to put a solid roller lifter in some guy's like daily driver 2008 Silverado.
So since the LS are non-adjustable rockers, and you go with like a solid cam or a solid lifter,
yeah,
do you just measuring push rods and getting the exact length,
I
or
think
do you have to
you're gonna have
convert
to-
over to an adjustable
You
rocker?
have to go to adjustable.
Okay.
Yeah. You just have to. There's no getting around it. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that on like.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh well, my wife drives my Tahoe every day, so I'll just do those lifters and those. It's like, okay, well, tell your wife she might have to check the lash on the lifters when she gets to a Walmart this afternoon.
Yeah, go out there with the feeler gauge and I never had an issue. I had that solid roller cam in the 283 that was in the Chevelle, and I'm terrible at maintenance. Like it's probably that ADHD or whatever, where I'm like, oh, that looks funner to do. And so I think I checked them twice.
Yeah, they're probably fine.
And they were all within reason after I got stud girdles, because I was constantly breaking rocker studs with that cam and the valve spring. So
that's normally how it goes. Like you could do that. I could put those in this and I'd never have to adjust them ever. But I'd get that like one picky 75-year-old come in, and like I'd do solids on his, and they'd loosen up every like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like that's just how my luck is. That's how the world comes together most days. So.
That's probably everybody's luck. It just depends on how you take it. But yeah, I get that. Like, but my dad always used to say, he's like, oh, don't do that, because back in the 60s, and the cars are
the old ones were terrible.
Yeah, constantly having to do it. But I think
fasteners are way better now.
Polylocks and girdles and all that stuff. I think it locked them all together and didn't have any issues with it. So
it helps a lot.
Yeah,
a lot. Just like out and about, like I went skiing with some random chicks from Minnesota. Like,
how do you go skiing? I'm trying to think how do you go skiing with random chicks from Minnesota?
So I like telling this story because it's just none of my friends thought I was going to, apparently. So there was tequila involved.
It's usually how a lot of good stories start.
And I was at a bar in downtown Lincoln, and I was talking to some girls at the bar next to me, and they're like, oh, we're going skiing tonight. I'm like, that sounds fun. And they're like, yeah, do you want to go? I'm like, yeah. And the next thing I know, it's like 4 a.m, and I'm just like mobbing across Nebraska in the backseat of a Subaru.
Going up to Colorado?
Going up to Colorado. And I just went back to bed and woke up, and I was at the ski resort.
Did you actually go skiing?
I went skiing, yeah.
Nice.
And I am really bad at skiing. And I didn't have my glasses. I didn't have any. I had like cowboy boots, jeans, and a coat.
That's not the best.
That's not great
ski
gear.
Apparel. Yeah, that's not the best gear.
And I was very hungover, like really hungover.
Yeah.
And the one is like a professional, like she does like college skiing.
Oh, okay.
And her sister is just really good at skiing because they've always went skiing together. And apparently I said that I could ski, and I had never been skiing before. So
they found out really fast that you were lying.
It took me like 45 minutes to get down the catwalk, and then I got to the bottom, and I'm like, I can't do this. Like the world is spinning. My knees hurt.
God.
Like I can't see. Like it was just a not great experience, but I did have fun. And then they were going for 2 days. So I'm like, okay, well, I have tomorrow too. What am I going to do tomorrow? And this was like peak COVID in Colorado. So like everything is shut down.
Everything. Oh, yeah.
Except there were a couple of like pubs that were open around there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this little like tram bus, not a tram bus, but there's just like this little bus that goes
Shuttle
from like small town. It goes like Vale, all of the little towns through there. We were at like Beaver Creek or something. It went from like there to Vale and blah, blah, blah. And I just like, my phone died. So I was like, hey guys, we'll meet at like 3:30 at the car. Okay, sounds good. And I just like roamed around through these small towns and like drank and talked to strangers for the rest of the day.
Huh.
That was interesting.
That sounds interesting.
I fell asleep by a fire. I literally felt like a homeless person. But I mean, like it was okay. It was like the closest I've had to like real freedom.
Yeah,
you know?
Probably not being tied down to anything, and
like what responsibilities do I have?
Yeah.
And then shout out to my buddy who has a towing company here in town, because I called him because my vehicle was still downtown.
Yeah.
And it was like a Friday night, and I'm like, it's gonna be there all day Saturday, and it's at a meter. Like it's either gonna get towed or it's gonna get a lot of tickets. So I called him up. I'm like, hey. Like I called him up right away Saturday morning. I'm like, hey, before I get a ticket, can you go tow this vehicle from downtown and take it to my shop? And he's like, yeah, sure thing. So I'm like, okay. $60. Don't have to worry about
That's
it.
nice.
Like,
That's better than the ticket. What's your buddy's tow truck company?
We Star Towing.
We Star. Okay.
Yeah. Do you know Brian?
I've met him once or twice. He's a Hartshorn, I think.
Yes.
And one of my good buddies is Mike Hartshorn, but they're not related. They're like maybe third, second cousins down the way. So
Brian's awesome.
Yeah.
He's like, he has saved my butt so many times because it's constantly customer cars. You know, like when you build drag cars, like you get done with something, a rear end breaks, or you get done with something, it blows a coolant hose off because a head gasket goes. You know, just little stuff like that. And it's just like, you know, I'll be out tuning something at 2 a.m. and something will just like
let go in there.
And I'm like, cool, I'm on the side of the highway at 2 a.m.
in a car that's probably less than DOT approved.
Yeah.
Sitting on the side of the highway.
And I'm like, and I have been pulled over tuning before a couple of times. And it's just been like, I haven't gotten any tickets, but it's just like, I've been sitting on the side of the road, like writing a tune or like kind of like in the median. It'll be like 3 a.m. I'm just like sitting on the side of the road on a laptop. That's a red flag to most cops because they see that and they're like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, but yeah, how does that work with like customers' cars? They've ever hassled you for not having
9 times out of 10
registration or anything?
They come up to the window and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm a mechanic. It's got a misfire, or I'm chasing this, or I'm tuning it. And most of them know what tuning is. And they're like, oh, can you do my pickup? Like, I've had a couple of them ask if I can do their vehicles. And I have tuned a couple of officers' vehicles. I'm like, they're pretty cool. I'm like,
that's good.
I was like, hey, are we outside of your jurisdiction? Because I'm about to do a pull. And they're like, I don't care. Like,
yeah, I don't think a lot of them really care. I think they only care when they have to respond to a call.
Yeah.
Or something gets called in.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, shit, at the street races for however many years, there was never, unless somebody was actively racing when they got there, they just parked and said,
go home.
Time to go. And then we'd go to Sam's Club and go back to a different spot.
A lot of them are really cool. And they understand because especially with like how crime has been in this city lately.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to our wonderful mayor.
Yes.
And, new police chief for being
from
very
San
good in
Francisco.
allowing all of the murders. You know, we need more heroin in the streets.
We need more homeless people.
Less loud exhaust.
Yes, absolutely.
More heroin being injected in front of children.
And homeless people too.
And homeless people.
Yeah.
We definitely need the bum camps.
We straight up have, it looks like LA now, like there's like a Mexican lady selling flowers on the street corner.
Yes.
It's fucking insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
And there's dudes standing on the corner panhandling.
Apparently people want it.
And they're like, can't even hold their head straight and they're bobbing all over the place. And it's like, this is not.
I never used to get just screamed at by strangers just walking. You know, you could walk through downtown.
Yeah.
And you might like hear someone like on the corner just like screaming because they're just out of their mind. You know, they got something going on. It's like, okay, that sucks. You know, I feel bad for them, but now they're like aggressive.
Yes.
Or they'll start like screaming at you just for like being around them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, so worst case scenario, they do that and they go get like a free night of food and shelter. And it's better than what they get.
I suppose so. Yeah, I was going to Ace or whatever to get a bolt or some shit for a project. And there was up there by on like 48th and Vine.
Oh, okay.
And there was a dude on a scooter or like a little mini bike scooter thing. And he was dressed like in a suit with like a real bright tie and like some red shoes on. And I was like, this guy looks kind of funny, but he's no helmet either.
Yeah.
And so he's swerving around a little bit. And so I'm like, making sure he's not gonna I don't want to hit him or he's gonna run into me or whatever. So I turn, he ends up getting behind us and follows me in there, and he starts fucking screaming like, you motherfucker, you're fucking son. I'm like, and at first I just thought, I didn't know what, I thought he was on the phone or something.
Yeah.
And then he starts keep screaming. He's like, and I look and I'm like, can I help you? What the hell? What's the problem? He's like, you motherfucker, you came over by me. And I was like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. And he was just screaming for 15 minutes. And I was like, all right, dude, I gotta, whatever, dude. You go over there and scream at the wall. And it's insane.
Yeah. It's a problem.
It's absolutely insane.
But they're more focused on traffic violations than they ever will be on that.
Oh, I think so.
And
but
that's
one thing
blowing.
I've noticed is I haven't seen I drive all day, or, I'm driving around town for
Yeah.
work or whatever. I haven't seen like speed traps.
No, I haven't seen as many of those.
And they always have the bike cops out, and they're the
Yeah.
worst Nazis in the world when you
Mhm.
get pulled over. They're dicks.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize those guys at all this summer out, really. Maybe a little bit, but not like normal.
I also my rule of thumb is back to the motorcycle cop thing.
Yeah.
I will not trust the government until I can't get a seatbelt ticket from a motorcycle cop.
Ooh.
Like, as long as motorcycle cops can give me a seatbelt ticket, I don't trust anything.
Damn, that's a yeah, that's crazy. They shouldn't be able
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. It's like, where's your seatbelt? You're on a death machine. And
Yeah, that's a
I
good
am
point.
in a nice padded vehicle. Like, I understand you can hit airbags and there's stuff like that, but like, you're gonna just get thrown from your motorcycle as well. And
Yeah,
like,
would their
that's-
excuse be I have a helmet on? That's like my seatbelt?
Yeah, but like, why can't I wear a helmet in my car then?
That's a good point. The airbag would hurt less when you hit that without a seatbelt on.
Yeah. And it's like I've been, because every once in a while I'll get ornery and I'll like drive around with a helmet on. And it's like, you can get heckled for driving with a helmet on, but like a motorcycle cop has a helmet on. So it's like, if I have a helmet and no seatbelt,
It does feel weird
but
to
an
drive.
officer has a helmet and no seatbelt, like,
That's a good point. Yeah. Because technically you're even safer than he is in a
Yeah.
car with a helmet on
yeah,
and no seatbelt.
yeah. I know that's probably like, this is probably one of those like Joe Rogan, like, how much ham is actually in hamburger moments. Like, for me.
Is there-
Like, I'm just like off on a
No, it's
tangent.
fine. It'll work because it's a good point. It's a really good point, and I agree that it's hard to trust the government as far as what they're doing, especially with like
Yeah.
taxes and things like that. It's like every time we turn around with payroll, if we screw up one little thing with payroll,
Yeah.
we're getting fined $500 from the IRS.
Yeah.
And it's like, we paid everything we were supposed to. It just was more. So let's see, what was it? Within a quarter, if you have more than $2,500 worth of payroll tax,
Yeah.
you have to file monthly.
Yeah.
So if we get overtime, I don't know. Like normally we're under that, but if we get overtime or we got a bunch of jobs where we're working a lot more, we will barely squeak over that. Barely
Yeah.
squeak over it. Maybe $100 or whatever.
I had to hire an accountant. I pay
And
way too much for that, but I
fucking
couldn't keep up on it.
$500 fine for we paid them the exact amount. We just didn't do it monthly
Yeah.
for that one
Isn't
quarter.
that nice?
Yeah.
And then 500 plus interest.
Yeah.
Because they probably sent you the letter 2 years later because they're behind.
It got lost in the mail.
Yes.
That's another thing that pisses me off. We had somebody stealing our mail
Really?
this year, or like a month ago.
I've had a few things not show up in the mail as well.
Yeah.
And I just tell people, like, I don't even check my mail anymore because, like, there's no point to it. I'm
Yeah.
like, if you have to get a hold of me, email that. And it's like, everyone emails. All of the government agencies have started emailing. But then I had this issue lately where it was like a tire tax and I had to mail it because they don't have an online thing. It's like, just put the drop down with everything else so I can pay my $6 for my 6 tires I sold last year, like online.
Yeah.
Well, you got to mail it. Okay, cool. So I like kept forgetting because I don't have envelopes. I don't have stamps. Like I haven't had to mail anything in like 10 years. So I just don't mail anything. Like I don't do anything in the mail.
Yeah, we
Ever.
wouldn't. If I would not have envelopes or stamps if it wasn't for the business and having to mail checks
Like
or
if
whatever.
the EPA
do
is
some stuff.
concerned about things, they should be like going off of junk mail. Because like
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I stopped, like I just never check my mail because I don't need to. And even when I moved into a house in Waverly,
Mm-hmm.
and like they got, like their shopper and like the daily, like not a daily paper, but like the weekend paper that just comes and then all that stuff. Like I'd never check it. And like the mail person there probably hated me because like it would just fill up
Yeah.
and they just like zip the whole thing up in like one wrap. They just like throw it on the porch every couple months.
Oh really?
And I just like would throw it in the corner because I'm like, none of that's mine. So I did that. Then like I was there for a year and I had this stack of paper like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if every person in the world, like every house is getting a stack of paper like that, what's the emissions created from that being for every person?
Yeah, but junk mail's not fun.
That's true.
Cars are
Yeah.
fun, and we can't
Yeah.
have people having fun.
Yeah. Junk mail is just like all of the spam calls that are just kind of like, oh, your life sucks. Hopefully it sucks a little bit more.
Dude, there's
vote for us.
there's five to six pieces of trash basically that shows up in the mailbox every single day.
Yeah.
And cell phone spam calls are.
I don't answer the phone for my business anymore unless someone texts me. I tell people, I'm like, if you want to get a hold of me, text me. Because it used to be, I could filter it out because normally people would call twice. They'd call in the morning, not get a hold of me, and call in the afternoon. But spam companies have started doing that now. They'll call me from the same number 2 times in a day. And it's like, oh, here, would you like to sign up for Medicaid? Would you like to do this? I'm like, I would like to know where you live.
Yes, I would
More
like
than
to,
anything.
I would like to. And now they're not even fun. You can't even fuck with them anymore. They get mad. It used to be able to mess
you can
with them.
talk to them, and they just don't respond to you talking.
Yeah.
They just call. I'm like, well, then what are they get? They're not going to scam someone out of money not being able to respond.
God, I probably.
So what's the point?
Like last Thursday or Friday, I probably had 30 spam phone calls.
Yeah.
And I got my phone on my, in my pocket, and they're all, 402 numbers, 402 numbers, 308 numbers, and it's just like
answer. What I'll do is I'll call them back if I get more than one call. All of the other ones, like I wait like a week. I've just started blocking numbers if they're spam numbers, and that has cut down a lot. Because now I'll look on my phone and I'll have like 15 to 20 spam calls through the day.
Yeah.
But it just automatically ignores them because a lot of the times they'll call from the same numbers.
But aren't they just auto? Because I've had spam phone calls call from people. I actually had a spam call from one of my contacts. So
Really?
it popped up because they just auto or
it
whatever.
just worked out.
And it worked out. And it was like, I was like, oh, hey, what's going on? And then it was like, would you like to buy life insurance, or you are now qualified for Medicare Part C? And it's like, the fuck, this isn't AJ or whoever the hell it was. And I was like, how the hell did that happen? But they just automatically generate the phone numbers, and it just happened to be
just
one.
block as many as you can, and if it cuts it down from like 20 to 3,
yeah,
cool.
What if they're customer numbers that they're spamming, and now you're
I don't know what to do about
then you got to go like listen to all your voicemails.
Yeah.
Ugh, I hate voicemails.
My voicemail box has been full since 2010.
So, yeah, you got to.
And then I got my new shop phone number, and it has been full since I got that number in like 2018.
Yeah.
And I always get people that are like, "Oh, your voicemail is full," and I'm like, "Yeah,
that's the way I like
that's
it.
exactly how I want it to be." Because I get like so many people are like, "Oh, this is so and so. Call me back." I'm like, I see there's a missed call. I'm going to call you back. That was before there were spam calls every day. It was like, okay, I see there's a missed call. I'm naturally going to call you back. Like, that's just
if I want to talk to you.
Yes. But it's like, I'd get so many things. It's like, oh, this is so-and-so. Just call me back. It's like, it was good when you had landlines and no caller ID and you didn't see that. Like, that's what voicemails were good when there were still landlines. But now with spam calls, like leaving voicemails and stuff like that, it has been full for years.
That's the worst too, because it'll go to potential spam and it'll say Verizon or whatever says potential spam. So I just swipe, turn it off, ignore it. And then 30 seconds later, it's like, doo-doo-doo-doo. And it's like, oh, damn it. They just got a voicemail.
Yeah. I just let them fill up.
Yeah.
I just don't even care about voicemails anymore.
I did that for a while.
I was like, if I lose a quarter of my business because people can't understand that I'm going nuts because of spam calls all day, then I still have too much to do.
Yeah, I think in text messaging, or whatever, if you really need to get a hold of everybody.
Texting's the best. Or like people message me on Facebook or even Snapchat. I do a lot of business through Snapchat, surprisingly.
Really?
Like tuning? Yeah.
Don't you hate that though? Because like, doesn't the conversation disappear and you forget what you talked about?
You save it in there. You can save them in there. So you just hold down on it. It saves it. Because like I have a lot of followers on Snapchat. So I'll like post a video of like a car idling in the shop. And then so
what's your Snapchat handle? Is it called a handle?
I think it's like Brock Coles or something like that.
Yeah, I do have to ask you, what's your shop and where can people follow you and find you and all that stuff too.
Yeah,
I don't know
about the Snapchat thing. I don't know how many people I should have on there. I mean, like, I don't know. Unless I have mutual friends, I don't know.
Are you sending out like dick pics and like half
No.
chubs and
I should.
yeah,
I should.
you'd probably
but
grow your following a little bit.
I don't think so.
No, not at all. Actually,
No.
not at all. Huh?
No,
Ah,
probably
damn.
wouldn't grow my following at all.
Okay, well,
Probably I'd be disappointing a lot of people all at the same
that's
time.
true. You have
Like
you
hundreds
have like
of
a
people being disappointed.
everybody has a mental image of,
Yeah,
and they'd just be let down.
yeah, exactly.
That's a bummer.
So no, but it's just like I don't know. So I'll like post a video and people are like, oh, can you tune this? Can you tune this? It's like,
Mhm.
okay. So I do a lot of business through Snapchat, and I don't mind that at all. But then like if people start really like hammering down on me, like, was this done? Is this done? Is this done? And they're messaging me 12 times a day on Snapchat. I just delete them. I'm like, you can message me on the Facebook page where I don't get notifications for it every
Yeah.
day. Because I tell people, I'm like, I am not a quick turnaround shop. I am one person. I don't give ETAs. Like, it could be here for weeks. It could be here for months.
Mhm.
Like, chances are it's not going to be. But in the odd chance it is, like, I don't need to be asked every day for an update, because if there's an update, I will tell you an update.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's when I
just-
have 15 people every day
Mhm.
messaging me 3 times. Oh, what's an update? What's an update? I'm like, stop. Just
I
stop.
hate doing that, and I hate when customers like try to micromanage the job, and they're
Yes.
like, "Oh, well, it's probably not as bad for you because I leave for the day and they just stand and look at my work in their house the whole time,
I've
all
had
night."
a couple of people do that, or they'll ask, they're like, oh,
Are
like,
you
did you
doing
do
this
this? And I'm
right?
like, I have been doing this all day, every day, like as my own bit. Like, I know I'm like younger, but it's always a lot of like people in like their 60s and stuff like that, because
Mhm.
they're just really condescending, because most people
Why is
like
this-
our
Why is
age,
this 20-something-year-old person,
yes,
does he really know what he's doing?
yeah, and like I'll literally tell them, like, if they send me like if they ask me something that's like really condescending, it's like, oh, well, did you check this? And I'm like, yes, I checked it. They're like, so what do we do? I'm like, we don't need anything. If I needed something, I would have told you. Like, and like I just at that point, like I just straight up tell people, I'm like, I don't need you to micromanage me. This is my job. This is what I do. Like,
Mhm.
I don't need you micromanaging me.
You-
And then they're like, well, I'm not micromanaging.
How
Well,
dare you?
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know
Yeah.
what you want me to. I say that probably like once a week.
Really? Yeah.
I just straight up tell people, like, I don't need micromanaged, and like, and then they don't. They stop.
That's good. Yeah, because there's a few customers that, one of the best things too I ever heard was sometimes you got to fire customers.
Oh, constantly. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're not worth the energy to put in, but like
Yeah.
there's a handful of them that are still good customers, but they're just handy enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Well, I was noticing that this isn't were you going to go ahead and do this, that, and the other?" And it's like, "We're not done.
Yeah.
We're not done. Wait
Yeah.
till it's done, and then you
Yeah.
can judge me, and then call
Yeah.
me after the fact. I don't
Yep.
need you calling me every single morning or every night at 10 o'clock asking me,
Are you gonna trim this room?
yeah,
Yeah. Like,
is
that's
the
part of
trim
it.
sitting in the living room? Of course
Yeah.
we're going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like, just let me do my job, and then
Yep.
when it's shitty when we're done, then you can judge me. But if you don't have a
Yeah.
problem with it when it's done, then we're good, right?
Yeah.
So why do we need to waste the time running around and
Yeah.
dealing with this stuff?
Nope. I deal with that a lot on tuning, because I have my specific way of how I go about stuff. So I get it like my procedure is I get it like running, driving okay. You know,
Mhm.
like to where like you can just drive it down the road, but it might kind of be kind of iffy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might die at a light, might do something dumb like that. But it's like, and then I do wide open throttle pulls. I don't spend time making it perfect at first, just in case it's out of an injector. Because it's like, I don't want to get this tune dialed in perfect,
Yeah.
put it on the dyno and find out it's out of injector, and then I have to redo it. So I give it like a very loose tune, put it on the dyno, say it runs out of injector, give it back to the customer, here, put these injectors in, do this, whatever, bring it back. They'll text me like, oh, this thing's dying at the light and it's got this problem and these shift points aren't right and it's got these codes. And I'm like, put the injectors in.
Then we
and-
can
and-
move on.
and bring it to me.
Yeah.
Because that's the order of it. Oh, well, are you going to do this when it's there? Yes. I'm like, everything will be done when it is done, but I'm not going to go through the work of making this perfect if I just have to redo it.
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. And then they ask the same question again. And I'm like, we're going to arm wrestle when you get here. So
I have customers that will do that too. I just did that Monday, I think it was, where she started asking me questions about stuff that we're already done. We're walking out the door basically, and she started asking me questions. Well, now I'm like, oh, let me go grab a screwdriver out of the trailer, and then it's like, wait a second, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just doing this, to be, it's customer service, I guess, at a certain point. But it's like, then it just keeps going, or they keep trying to add stuff, and it's like, all right, no, this isn't how it works. Like, we need to start over here or whatever, and
you just have to kind of like put a hold on it.
Yeah, exactly. Stop. It's like, if you want to pay us time and material, we can try to figure this out, but I'm not going to spend over 15 minutes here messing with this for you. No. So.
If you go to the doctor's office and get your blood drawn, they're not going to give you an MRI for free. I promise.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, while you're looking at this heart palpitation I have, could you just give my knee a quick X-ray?
Yeah. While you're in here,
they're going to be like, okay, that's going to be another $700.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, we'll do that.
15 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably part of the problem. That's probably why I'm not a huge company.
Yeah, I realized like I'd have some people like just complain about the price on something where it's like I'd put my like heart and soul into wiring something and stuff, and like couldn't even see the wiring, couldn't even see this. Like I've done a bunch of jobs like that, probably like 20 jobs or so. And like someone would complain, it's like, oh, well, you have all this time into it. I'm like, yeah, but it's perfect. Like you literally like you look at the engine bay and like there's no wires there.
That's the only way to have an engine bay.
And it's like someone will complain about the price because it's X amount of dollars, but it's like they live in a $500,000 house and they won't fucking they won't bat an eye at buying the newest 4K like $4,000 TV.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like they've got this like surround sound and all this stuff. Like they'll go spend $1,200 on a phone like it's water.
Yeah.
And then they'll complain that like something that you're spending all of these hours on is $400, $500.
They didn't get to live in that $500,000 house by not being a Jew.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
That's my brother's like that. I don't know if you know my brother, Ryan Early. I don't know.
I think so.
But he's kind of like that. He'll nickel and dime you and like beat you up on stuff, and
then he'll like go buy a brand new pickup.
Yeah, he's got a brand new Tesla, or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's just
like he'll give Elon all the money.
Well, why are you beating me up on like $500 because we did his basement or whatever? I've done work for him before in the past, and it's like, why?
This multi-million-dollar company, it's like, here's all my money, dude. But you're a little guy, and you're like, well, I need to feed my kids this week. And
they haven't ate since Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, are you sure you could do, maybe or a little less than $800 on that?
Or do you think you could come in on Saturday and we could just get this done?
Yeah,
it's like, no, I'm not going to.
Yeah,
not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, but all right, Brock, where can everybody find you if they want to find you? Somebody needs to get a sweet tune done.
I'm hard to find.
Well,
live in the woods.
You live in the woods.
No,
okay.
I don't.
Well,
I wish I did.
That backfired.
Just my Facebook page. It's Barnyard Garage. If you want to find me on my Facebook, it's Barnyard Garage. That's the easiest way too, by far. If you want to see a bunch of terrible shenanigans, my just plain Facebook page is Brock Dvorak. But I don't post that much on there anymore. I got rid of Facebook on my phone.
Oh, okay.
That was a big thing for me, and I'm really happy it's been like that for like a year. And I got rid of my TV. I got rid of everything. I'm kind of a hermit now. But like, if you find me, I do work for you.
All right, so he's hard to find, but he will work for you. So. Yeah, you've posted some funny stuff on Facebook. I've seen some of your posts, and I just have to laugh at watching people try to do mental gymnastics to defend their position.
Yeah.
Which is fun. That's always fun for me.
I like doing them back. The mental gymnastics back. I'm way more patient. I've been fighting with people on the internet since 5th grade. Like, I love this.
Yeah. See, I haven't been fighting on the internet near as long because I think probably when I was in like 5th grade, you had to go get an AOL disc from Blockbuster, and it'd give you 15 free hours.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that at every, or maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was 5 hours or 3 hours or whatever, but every second that you were logged into AOL, whether the page was loading or not, you were getting charged. So my dad got his credit card bill at the end of that first month, and I got an ass chewing because I was like, no, I had a stopwatch. And when the page loaded, that's when I started it. And it's like, nope, that's not the way it works. It's like,
it took 4 minutes for the page to load,
yeah,
but you were
exactly.
on the page for a minute.
Yep, exactly. So that's how they got me good. So yeah, it was rough back then. Nowadays,
now it's pretty much like free. And you think about that, it's like, how many other things are they just like vastly overcharging for? Like cell phone service. You know?
Yeah.
Like how much do they charge for that? And it's like, how much stuff is already kind of paid off?
Oh, it's all the infrastructure. 5G sucks.
Yeah.
It was
I'm not
supposed
on
to,
it yet. I heard that it sucks, so I'm still on 4G.
It was supposed to be like a garden hose was 4G and like a 8-inch sewer was 5G or whatever. Like it was just supposed to let like instantaneously. No, it's terrible. It's always cutting in and out. And this phone has worse signal than that like Galaxy 2 I had before or whatever. Yeah.
That's frustrating.
It's slow and it's constantly trying to like I feel like the phone knows if there's Wi-Fi around and if you don't have your Wi-Fi turned on, it slows down the 4G or 5G.
I could see that.
Like I think that's actually what it does.
Yeah.
Because
mine might too, because it's really slow at the shop because I don't have but my Wi-Fi sucks at the shop too. So the 4G is faster than Wi-Fi, but when I'm at the shop, 4G is slower than Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so I wonder if they do that. That's my new conspiracy theory.
Don't get me started on conspiracy theories.
Oh shit, this is going to be a 3-hour-long podcast.
It's going to be a long podcast.
We'll have to have you back for a full conspiracy one.
A conspiracy theory day?
That would actually be pretty fun, I think.
Yeah, I'd probably be in jail.
Good.
I wouldn't be in jail.
They might be looking.
There's a lot of.
They might be looking for you though. After
a lot of conspiracies. Changed a lot of my thinking in the last year.
Conspiracies are kind of fun to go down the rabbit hole.
I'm not worried about anything anymore. I just stopped. I got to a point where I like had so many theories and there was like so much stuff going on that I'm like, whatever.
You're not gonna be able to change anything, so
yeah,
it is
like,
what it is.
They show up at my door. Cool, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much what I got down to. I'm like, no, they show up at my door. I'll be at my door, and I'll be probably not that prepared, but I'll be somewhat prepared.
Prepared-ish.
I'll be more prepared than Pelosi's husband. You saw that?
Yeah, I did, and I don't know if it was on Tim Pool or what. There apparently maybe some sort of a gay love triangle. Is the new theory. So I don't know. Conspiracy theories can be pretty fun. Yep. And this video just got demonetized.
Yeah. We'll just take it back. We'll go back about 5 minutes.
And just clean shop.
Yep, clean shot.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out ftpspeedshop.com. Pick up some merch. Help support the channel. I want to thank Brock for coming on. It's been fun.
Thank you.
It was nice meeting you. And
nice meeting you too.
Yeah. Later.
Awesome.